Hi, I'm Daniel Brackens, and we're sitting here with Senator Slom today about a speech he gave. And it was printed partially in the Advertiser. However, we wanted him to elaborate a little bit more on what he was talking about because they only gave him a certain amount of time. So, Senator Slom, would you mind elaborating for us?
I'll never mind at all, Daniel. Thank you for the opportunity to do so. It was, I think, an important part of the opening day ceremonies to differentiate between the majority in this building. As you know, in the Senate, there's only 2 Republicans out of 25, but I made a lot of references to the fact that one person can have an impact and do a lot. But the other thing that I was trying to draw as a distinction, it's one thing to talk about cooperation and partnership, and we should all do that. We should cooperate when we can. But I think it's equally important to stand up when there is bad legislation or when there are statements made that are inaccurate. That's what our responsibility is, to stand up and discuss those in detail. And that's what I tried to do. And my whole point was, look, a lot of people are approaching this tough economic times with the idea of gloom and doom, and we've got to have more government controls. My point is, first of all, we come from the standpoint that we are emphasizing success and prosperity, and we believe in the individual. And the individual has superior rights to the government, whether we're talking about federal government or state government. So I said, we want to make sure that that government is bound by the chains of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we celebrate the contributions that individuals make. The government is not going to solve our problems. How can they? The government has created the problems that we're enduring right now, and we're paying the price. But the good news is we've got the resources, we've got the people within our state to help make these changes and to pull us out of that if we're allowed to do that without more governmental controls. And we call upon the public to help us in this matter, to help hold our feet to the fire, number one, but number two, to make sure that those people that make statements, we back them up. I'll give you an example. Today, we were asked to support a resolution which basically gave carte blanche to the President Obama economic stimulus package. Nobody knows what the stimulus package is all about. And yet we're saying, well, come on, for partnership and cooperation, let's all support it. We can't support something like that. We as Republicans are a compassionate people. We understand human needs. But you can be compassionate without being complacent, particularly about fiscal matters. And we have a responsibility. We've got a responsibility to individuals, to families, and to small businesses. They have to balance their own budgets. They have to learn how to say no and to prioritize things. That's a lesson that government hasn't done. So now we're talking about trillions of dollars, which nobody can understand what that is, trillions of dollars of expenditures, but with little oversight, with little transparency. So my remarks were that we've got to have that, we've got to demand that, we've got to do it. But I also had some specific things that we're going to do, or we're going to advocate, including tax reduction. Everybody's talking about increasing taxes, even the governor. We're not going to go along with that. We want taxes reduced. We know how hard people are struggling, but for the government to take such a large share of those expenditures, and for the government to make the decisions, they can't make a decision better than you or I. We may make different decisions, and your decisions may not be the ones that I would choose to make. But whatever they are, they're better for you and your family, and they're much better than any decisions that the government can make. So that's the emphasis. And as we go along, we're going to be examining more of these specific bills, because right now all we're doing is talking. We've got a lot of proposals out on the floor, as the governor has said, as the Senate president has said. Everything's on the table. Well, from my standpoint, there are a couple things that are not on the table. Tax increases? No way, no how. We're already the 4th highest tax state in the nation. Our people cannot afford it, should not be burdened over more. Let the government, let the government be more responsible itself. Gambling. For me, gambling's not on the table either. It doesn't make economic sense. It certainly doesn't make social sense. We're seeing more programs and reports coming out from other states. It's just a way for the government to get more money. Education. Everybody talks about the keiki, how important the keiki are, and yet we don't do anything to rein in this Department of Education, which now spends more than $2.5 billion a year. There are less and less people in the classroom. They want to shut down the small community schools which have been successful. They've opposed charter schools, which is the best thing that's ever happened to the students, the parents, and the community here. So these are the things that we're going to step up to the plate for. We believe in alternative energy. My colleague Senator Hemming's got a proposal for a nuclear commission. If you want to put things on the table and you want to talk about real alternatives, then you talk about all alternatives. But I guess our approach is different because we want voluntary incentives. We want people to make those decisions which are good for them. And you can't do that when you have government mandates. And finally, our position on the sanctity of life. We unabashedly oppose partial birth abortions and not protecting the young, whether the young is in the womb or whatever. We've seen horrendous cases recently here. We need tougher judges. We need more law enforcement. We don't need new laws necessarily, but we've got to enforce what we've got to do. Because if you can't believe in the sanctity of life, and you don't put your money where your mouth is, and you don't protect the youngest and most viable of people within our community, then all of the other talk about all of these other issues really don't make sense. So that's what we're going to do. And you know what? As I said in the words of Winston Churchill, it doesn't matter if there's only 2 of us here, only 6 in the House. We'll never give up. Never, 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 never. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you. Aloha.